Hi there, folks. Simon here. Welcome back to the 2024 January Beginner Tack Tournament. This is the finals game 2 between dayofni and Spawnoza. We saw dayofni in white and Spawnoza in black in game 1, and Spawnoza came out victorious. Now let's check out if dayofni can bring this to a head. Again, these games are played on a 6x6 board. 15 minutes on the clock, 10-second increment, meaning 10 seconds gets added to your clock after every turn. So without any further ado, let's jump right into this game 2 of this finals match between Spawnoza and dayofni. Here we go with A1 and then F1 right into it. Going straight for that knight's opening from Spawnoza. Black dropping up there at E4. How will white respond? Likely with a D3 placement. That's what I would do here at least. Or potentially a capstone at D3. Either of those are totally fine. I like them. Instead, white plays at F3. Also a totally valid move because that does work for both the vertical and the horizontal in the momentum front. Drops the capstone. Black capstones at D3. This is why I like for white, instead of responding with the F3, playing here at D3, you've got that position open now. You're in the center. You could even drop your own capstone there. Lots of opportunities there. But now black can kind of cut you off from whatever you're doing. And now we see white basically just has this vertical. They can't venture off into the horizontal too well unless they go for like a capstone at D4 and then capture up before black comes right. So if I'm black, maybe I want to come right here. Maybe I want to come down. Instead, place up at E5. White's still going for this vertical line. Black can come right. Black can play up at D6. A lot of ways this can go. Does play up at D6. White trying to cut off black from going for that horizontal at the top, but also going for that vertical as well. Black's sticking to it. Black's capstone is a little bit separated from the rest of the action here, but I think that it'll work out all right. The thing you're going to worry about is if white captures up with E3. Because then black's capstone is isolated, not only isolated, but behind white's capstone. Now, white can capture right with C6 here to make the tack threat, and also make it look like they're just worrying about black's horizontal up there. They can also capture up with the E3, which is what I would recommend. Capturing up with the E3 isolates black's capstone. That would have been devastating to black. Instead, now black can come right onto E3 with the capstone and cut off this threat. And get their capstone back in the game. Doesn't do that. Instead, captures over. This is inviting white's capstone to come up onto D5. White instead just dropping a flat there. I'm really waiting for that E3 plus move to happen to isolate black's capstone. Instead, we're seeing the wall drop. Black's got to be dropping, got to be moving that capstone at some point. It's rough. It is rough. Black drops a flat at e2. Okay, so the flat at e2 is sort of protection against that vertical threat. Now that flat at e2 can come right onto f2, he doesn't need to worry about that e3 plus as much. Granted, that black capstone is still a little separated from the rest of the action, a little isolated there, but it's not something that they can't overcome here. Let's see. White should probably still do e3 plus. Now, it doesn't sound great when you first look at it, but e3 plus is the vertical attack threat still. e3 plus is isolating black's capstone still. e3 plus is going for this horizontal threat still. e3 plus is the ideal move here. And if e3 plus happens and let's say e5 minus happens, white captures over, gets a big stack. I see this as a win-win in any situation, basically. If e2 comes right, that's fine. You can just switch gears, go for the horizontal. You were doing that anyway. I definitely think e3 plus is the move to make here for white, and it has been for a while. It's been the ideal move for a bit. White, again, taking his time here in this game, down to 12.5 minutes on the clock, whereas dayofni is just now getting below 15 minutes on the clock, which is the start time. That 10-second increment is helping dayofni out. We did see at the very end of the first game, dayofni had 8 minutes on the clock, and Spawnoza was down below 1 minute. So huge time buffer between them. And so we're seeing that same thing set up again, where dayofni is building up a bit more of a time bank here to use later on. Though we do know some top players who use a ton of their time early on in the game and then have none at the end and have to really rush. Abyss is one of those. Famously, he will be down to 4 minutes in just a few moves. Okay, that e3 plus move is gone now. Black has taken that option away. That ideal move is now over. Okay, so if I'm black, I want to play at b5. I want to play at b5 because it looks like white's going for a vertical here. And playing at b5 is sort of a defensive move there. And then, after b5 is played, black capstone can come left after white continues this threat line. Black capstone coming left can be seen as defensive when in reality it can be tossed all the way up onto c5 and make the road threat. So, a bit of a sneaky move, but it works both being sneaky and for just being tactical and strategic at this point. But instead, black now playing, looks like for the horizontal along the bottom, connecting up here at f5, kind of going all the way down. If they can make that work, they would need a flat here at e2 or d1 for that to happen. Not exactly sure if that would work. You've got those other flats from white there. White dropping a flat at c1, ready to make attack threat in the vertical direction here in the next turn. This is where I think black can still play at b5 and have it be seen as defensive and come left with that capstone. Black instead drops at b3. This is working towards black's horizontal here. So it does make sense in that regard. White comes up with the capstone, makes the attack threat. Now, this is attack threat, but it's also threatening to capture to the right. and really mess up what black's got going on in the horizontal direction and still make a vertical tack threat. Yeah. Spreading to the right would make that vertical tack threat here and would cut that off. All right. Yeah, I think that spread is great. It cuts off this threat because black is making the threat. Spreading does ruin that and also makes the vertical threat for white. Yeah, if I'm white, I want to play that move. I think that's the ideal move, sort of the obvious move to make here. Now you want to probably bring that capstone down yet again on f4. You'll have captured that stack, get that liability back. I don't think the wall was necessary here. I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it was like Tinue or anything either, but I don't think you needed to drop that wall there. You want to be ahead on flat count. I mean, white's pretty ahead. They've got 10 to black 7. And black has essentially 2 opportunities to return some of those in the future. White's got 3 to get more. So white is a bit ahead on flat, so they can afford that wall. Black's got the momentum for that vertical threat, though. So if white goes for, capturing over with this wall, black can play at like b1, b5 and go for that. But instead, white plays down at b1. This is going for that horizontal line down at the bottom, also trying to cut off black's vertical there. Now, black is able to make a dual-pronged threat here by playing at a2. Dropping a flat at a2 would be a horizontal threat. It would also be a vertical threat. That's what white needs to be nervous about. White should probably drop a wall here at a2. If black manages to play a flat at a2, it's going to be really messy. So that's where that wall needs to go. That e4 wall was not necessary. The a2 wall, absolutely necessary here. I'm going to play up at b5. Okay. I see what he's doing. If we see the a2 still play, white's going to have to do something about that. Probably come over with this wall. Yeah, a2 is dropped. This might be missed in the horizontal direction. I can see that happening. But white can come right. Okay. White comes down, stops the horizontal threat. Black comes over, immediately smashes, wants to get that back. White probably wants to drop another wall here at d3, if I'm going to be honest. A wall at d3 would be good. Well, white instead decides to go for their own threat, playing at a5, going for that horizontal line. I don't hate it. But black can spread this capstone stack up to e5. and spreading it up to e5 threatens to throw left for the road and also cuts it off, but doesn't. Instead decides to bring that wall down. Let's see what white's options are at this point. They can go for that vertical still on the right-hand side, but you've got black's capstone there to cut that off, so not really much of an option there. Gonna have to do some stacking and smashing and things like that if you want to really get this board a little bit more messy. Right around that 18 to 24 in terms of the turns on a 6x6 game is where a lot of these games, the board shifts dramatically. A lot of stacks happen, spreads, captures, things like that, and that will dramatically change the board positioning and how the rest of the game is played. And that happens in a series of, 5 to 8 turns, something like that. In the beginner tournament, I think that's a little bit different. I think that it happens a bit earlier as they're not delaying the captures as much. We talk about captures in the captures video of TAC University. Not necessarily the best play. In fact, more often than not, playing a flat is better than making a capture in TAC. That's not to say it's an always rule or anything like that, but you'll see top players avoid making any flat-on-flat captures for as long as they can, essentially. And you'll see sometimes 20 moves pass before the first flat-on-flat capture occurs. We clearly did not see that this game. But black going for that special line here. I think black's wanting to come up with a4 onto a5, but white dropping that wall at a3 really kind of cuts that off, making it difficult for black to build anything on that side. Okay, black coming down, making the attack threat here. b6 minus is an attack threat. Not a bad one. Playing up at b6 would be a road, capturing left would be a road, capturing up would be a road onto this a5 spot. White can come right onto this with the wall and cut it off, can come down with the wall and cut it off. Coming down is a lot better, I feel. Number of options. I think coming down with a3 is the right one. Yep, that's exactly what they do. And again, they're not listening to me. I want to point that out. They're not watching this stream. And if they we're on a 30-second delay. So they're not catching any tips from me here. Just want to make that clear. All right, so the b6 is played, the road threat renewed. I feel like b1 plus is the move to make here. White doesn't have much of a chance of going for that horizontal at the bottom. They can kind of work for it and make something happen with a few captures with that wall there. They're able to make some drawbridge threats in the future. If they can get that capstone into play around that d3 wall, they can do a little bit more damage. One of the ways they can do that is by playing at d4. So if black plays up at d4, for example, they're setting up for a horizontal threat. And they can bring this capstone up for the horizontal. And that's pretty good. That's not a bad play. But they've got to play d4 first. Instead they played at a3. This is kind of closing up this area, making sure white doesn't get an anchor point on this side of the board. Not bad. But they are running out of strong threats to make. They got to make a play for something, but all of their threats feel fairly weak at this point. Quite easily stopped. This Citadel kind of helps, though. That makes things a little bit stronger. But again, Black's got to play up at d4 and then bring this capstone up before anything can even remotely happen. This wall at b1 feels very unnecessary. Very, very unnecessary there. And I'm not sure what it is trying to accomplish. This really opens up Black to be able to play at that d4 position, like I was talking about, and I think that's going to be the ideal play at this moment. Yeah. If Black doesn't play at d4, I don't know what... Yeah, okay, they played at d4. Now, White might want to bring that wall stack on d3 to the left. Yes, it opens it up to being smashed. I don't think that's a problem. I don't know, yeah. Yeah, if we take a look at this wall on d3 for White, that's primed to come over onto this c3 stack. We talk about it in the walls video of TAC University. Capturing over, able to spread and use that wall stack to your advantage in an offensive way, not just as a blocker, which I feel like is what these walls have been used for in the so far in this game. Playing at b1 feels like a very, very much of a blocker move, even though it wasn't even a necessary blocker. It feels like they're wanting to come up onto their own stack and then make a positive flat count differential move in the vertical direction. I don't know about that. White coming over here kind of messes up Black's play to go for this horizontal line, but it also works for White to go for the vertical play. Black drops a wall instead. Surprising move. Surprising move. White's making the play. Black comes over with their own capstone. With the full stack, too. Not spreading. Not allowing that wall on d3 to capture that stack. Which feels like that might have been a bait. Might have been a bait from White to be able to play that, that move to get Black's capstone over there so they could smash and get that vertical line. White comes over with the wall now, knowing that Black probably won't bring this over to smash. White can then bring this whole stack over one more onto b3 and spread upwards for positive flat count differential, capture this b5 stack, make more positive flat count differential moves. Again, we talk about those flat count differential moves in the FCD or flat count differential video, TAC University. If you're wondering, what the heck is he talking about with these +3, +2 moves? What does that even mean? All explained right there. So very, very good video to check out if you want to take a look at that and understand these game analyses a little bit better, in this commentary a little bit better when it comes to flat counts. But if you're just looking at stuff like captures, you can check out those other videos as well. TAC University, I worked on those a lot a while ago. All of those basic strategy principles are all still valid. Black is making attack threat here. White missed it. Black's going to smash for the road on a2. Black can throw all the way a2 smash. Black wins game 2. Oh, man. There it goes. Black wins game 2. That is dayofni winning game 2. You know what this means. I know what this means. We all know what this means. We're going to see blitz tiebreaker. But we saw each player win as black. We saw each player win with a road, a missed road. So we'll see how this turns out in the blitz tiebreakers. But that is it, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub and where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with. Whether that be right here on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself, lots and lots of stuff to do in there and lots of great resources. So be sure to check that out. And we will be covering those blitz games in the future. Don't worry about that. But until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.